Okay, so full disclosure, I specifically asked to do this conversation because Yasmin and I have known each other
a long time.
For about 20 years. I think maybe just before BOF even existed.
Yeah, when it was in your brain.
Yeah, and I've had the pleasure of kind of seeing Yasmin's career trajectory, as Priya was just talking about. You started your journey in fashion in London at the age of 22, is that right?
19.
19. And you eventually became one of those, when I first entered fashion, you became one of those buyers that, this is before a lot of direct-to-consumer, and everyone, big emerging fashion brands, they were all reliant on these important wholesalers. And there's this legendary retailer in London called Browns, which is known for discovering a lot of designers. They had a legendary founder named Joan Burstein.
Mrs. B.
They were credited with putting on the map people like Galliano and McQueen. And when I first entered the fashion world, you were at Browns. And I remember people would speak with your name with this reverence. Like, Yasmin Soul, You had built already so much respect in the industry. But then one day, after a number of job changes, you went to Liberty and you went to Style.com, which had become a retailer away from that website that all fashion people were addicted to, and then you were at Farfetch. And at some point you decided, I'm done with fashion, right? And now I'm bumping into you here.
Now I'm here.
In this context, right? So we're two fashion people in the beauty world.
Yeah.
When you're making a change like that in your career, talk to us a little bit about what was going through your head and how you knew and how you were ready to leave behind this incredible track record, that stellar reputation, all the experience, contacts, and network you had, and you're willing to say, basta, I'm done.
Totally. Well, I do love change. I guess I never realized I was going to move into the beauty industry. It wasn't like I was like, fashion, done, beauty, yes. It wasn't where I was at. When I was in fashion, what made me successful was tapping into my intuition and tapping into energy, which is everything that I've created now. So I was born quite psychic. Always been able to connect with many things, and I use that ability to discover the designers at Browns and
so your psychic power enabled you to discover Jonathan Anderson and Christopher Kane and Rick Owens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She said she was going to go woo-woo. I didn't know it was going to go full on
go,
this early. But
I said that we're going to go the most woo-woo today. Yes, the answer is yes. Like, for example, Jonathan Anderson.
Yeah.
One of the greatest designers of our time now, right? So when I met him, I was at Liberty, and he was this kind of mental guy, not making great clothes. And I was seeing all these designers, and I'd go and see, I'd seen hundreds and hundreds, right? And I met Jonathan, and he had these menswear, and it was kind of weird and interesting, but it was something about him that there was a rush that went through my body that was like, there's something about this guy that's kind of brilliant. And I'm like, he should be doing women's wear, accessories. Why is he not? There's something really special there. And it wasn't my brain telling me this makes sense. It was something else telling me this feels right. And that feeling is what I have lived by my whole life. It's what's led me to where I'm at now. And actually what I believe I've done is bottled that into fragrance. What we do at Vyrao is that we're here to amplify your energetic field, open you up, mindfulness, consciousness. We have fragrances that are neuroscience-backed for mindfulness. I can talk about this for hours, but and I really believe that tuning into that higher self is where everything's at. The brain will take you so far, but it's our soul purpose that takes you beyond. So Jonathan was an amazing example. He's now the greatest of our time. And I said to him, you should do women's wear, you should do accessories. And for the first time ever, I was like, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna work for free for 6 months. I never did this. And I'm gonna help you launch women's wear. And now he's one of the greatest.
Well, now he's the creative director of Dior, men's, women's, and haute couture.
Yeah, gosh, I should have taken some sort of deal. I didn't get the deal.
I have a question about intuition. Because I'm also quite intuitive.
Yeah.
but I'm also very analytical.
Yes.
And, I think I sometimes drive my team crazy because if my intuition and my analytical brain align, the decision is made really quickly. But if my analytical side and my creative side or my intuitive side don't align, it's kind of paralysis. Like I can't make the decision until both of those things align. So as someone who's going to build a career on intuition, but is now navigating a world with a lot of left-brain people. You have investors like L. Catterton. You're dealing with like retailers who are considering like sell-through and return and all that kind of stuff. Like, how are you reconciling and kind of navigating a world, staying true to your intuition while also being clear that also like the analytics, the numbers, all of that stuff still matters?
It's super interesting that I think about it quite often because I do, like I was saying, there's the brain and then there's the gut, two different things, and we can use both. I tend to lead with the gut, as I've said. I'm sort of 98% intuition, 2% common sense. But when I am in business, and I've obviously had a business for 4 years now. I've raised money. I have Estee Lauder, El Catterton, Manzanita, amazing people. I managed to raise by using my brain. But I also did the woo-woo test on all of them as well. So I made sure that when I was, talking about projections and vision and my plans and NPD and all the marketing and everything, which of course they bought into and they loved, but I also made sure that I dropped in a bit of woo-woo to see if they wouldn't be freaked out by it. Because this is really what I'm leading with. This is a business around energetic healing. We're channeling good energy into our products. And so I really do use both. I lead with intuition, and I use the brain as a tool. I don't think the brain can take us that far. For me, it doesn't. I think it takes you to a certain point. I mean, I told you, I didn't finish school. I left school at 15. I found it really difficult to sit in a class and process information. I found it really frustrating. I learned through doing. I learned through building. I learned through creation. So I lead with one, which is the gut, and then I let the brain follow. And even if the brain says no, I still do it.
Okay. So walk us through a case study of how that worked with the kind of genesis of Vyrao, which is a brand, as you mentioned, you've raised money from some of the top institutional and strategic investors. It's a brand on everyone's lips. Everyone's interested in it. It seems to be disruptive in this fragrance world. Walk us through the intuitive process of creating Vyrao.
So I left my last big job in fashion, which was at Farfetch. And then I was like going through quite a big change in my personal life. I was going through a divorce. I was like, time to have a little breather. And I do think these times of transition are really powerful. You spoke about it last night in your little journey, which we'll do the interview with Tracy Lee Ross and you. You took that time out. And I took time out. I sat in my house and I thought, okay, I'm going to paint my house. I want to change my house. My life has just changed. Time to have a break. And I heard this voice saying, everything needs to be green. I just heard the word green, go green, everything's green. It's all I could hear. It was like a speaker I couldn't turn off. So I painted my house Kermit the Frog green. And I sat and I just was sitting in this greenhouse. And in the
Inside and out?
Mainly inside.
Okay.
Kermit the Frog green. And yeah, it's really beautiful, but anyway. And in the greenhouse, I sat there and I stopped, and Vyrao came to me as an absolute vision from somewhere else. I always knew that I would turn. I'm trained in many different forms of holistic well-being. I'm trained in Reiki, integrative quantum medicine, kinesiology. I'm trained in Ayurveda, flower remedies. All the fashion career, I was off training and studying and learning so I could be more intuitive and better in my job. So I could predict the trend and the designer and the thing and feel. So I did all that training because I knew one day I'd turn it into something. I was like, am I going to be like in a caftan with a spa? Is that going to be me? It might be me in 10 years, let's see. But I knew I would turn all of this stuff, let's call it woo-woo stuff, I knew I would turn it into something. I didn't know it would be this. I had no idea it would be fragrance. We're going to go beyond fragrance. But I sat in this greenhouse and it all came to me. Vyrao actually is a Latin verb that means I am verdant, I'm vigorous, I sprout green growth, that means green. The packaging is Kermit the Frog green. We are green. And what came to me was, if energy is the source of everything, which it is, can I build an entire brand based on energy? Can energy be the source of the brand? And when I realized that, then it flooded through to me that, okay, so through the senses we can shift and heal. You know, when we smell something, we are transformed. I mean, it's like there's neuroscience. I work with neuroscience now. You know, we smell something, we are transported, we change, we mood. That changes our energetic field. It alters us. My take on well-being is our emotional, spiritual, you know, it's our energetic well-being. So I thought, I could make scent, I could make fragrance. I launched Frederick Malle into Liberty. So I launched eccentric molecules into browns. I wasn't unaware of good fragrance. I knew that with all my experience in beauty, because fashion is beauty, if you think about it, really. It's beautiful things. I knew that with my experience, I could channel that into incredible fragrance. And could I make fragrances that were more than just a fragrance, but an energetic source? And I want to say also, if you don't give a shit about the wellness stuff or the energy, they are just exquisite fragrances. Like, they're just beautiful, made at the highest level, and good for you. So
I'm curious, like, it's a really beautiful story. And I can imagine you sitting in front of the El Catterton people or the Estee Lauder people and telling this story, and like, you embody it, you tell it beautifully, but then you actually need to make it happen. And you come from a completely different world. The way we measure success in fashion is different from beauty. You know, the way beauty products are created is completely different from the way fashion products are created. Talk to us about what you brought from fashion that's helped you in beauty, and like what you needed to learn how to do or find people to help you do to actually create a product and take it to market.
I mean, I didn't know how to make anything at all. So I had to really bring in people to tell me how to make anything. I had to learn all of that. I found it super interesting. Fashion, I think people stay in fashion for so long because it's constantly changing and moving, and there's a new energy every few months. Newness, new designers, new brands, new trends, new movement. So you can stay in the industry. We know all those people. They're in there for their whole lives. It can keep you there. What I liked about beauty or creating a fragrance was I could create this object that could be in existence for 100 years.
Yeah.
That was extraordinary to me.
And completely different from fashion where things date so quickly.
Churning through.
Yeah.
So that was different. I didn't know everything I had to learn. I think I understood sensibility, I understood quality. My vision was sharp and clear, and I was fearless in it. And I took a huge risk with this. You know, I put my life on the line. I did this, and I remember someone saying to me, a fashion designer friend of mine, you know, I started this in my 40s, and he was like, God, look at you, Yaz, good on you. I was like, what does that mean? And I think what he meant was, you're not 30 and you're doing this, wow. And I was thinking, well, come on, life is long. We can, you know, I think we can reinvent ourselves. I think that I love the fact that I'm in a whole new world. I'm here in the beauty industry with you, although I know you from fashion. I think that, but I've learned, and I love learning through doing. Like, again, I left school at 15. I started working. I opened up my first boutique at 22. I didn't know how the hell to do that. I didn't know how to be a buyer. I walked into showrooms. I saw this guy called Rick Owens, and the jackets looked kind of cool. And I was like, oh, that feels right. You know, and I didn't realize I had an eye to pick things. It wasn't like I was trained, or I didn't learn anything. I just went in there and did it.
But Yasmin, I still don't know how you created a fragrance. Like, you were living in the greenhouse, you had the idea, you understood eccentric molecule, you understood Frederick Malle, but like, how did you make a fragrance?
Well, I spoke to a few experts. Okay, so I went to wonderful Lynn Harris first, who's I call her the Phoebe Philo of the fragrance world, and she's the person who formulated my first 5 fragrances with. And again, I sat with her. She's the first person I went to with this idea of, can I create a fragrance that isn't like a woody, an oriental, a floral? I didn't talk about the notes at all. I talk about the emotions. Freedom, liberation, sensuality, empowerment, self-love. These are things that we use. Every single plant and flower in every single fragrance is chosen for how it makes you feel. Everything. through the thousands of years of history. Now we work with neuroscience. It's proven to trigger certain emotions in the brain. So Lynn was like someone. Then I worked with Maeve McCurtain, phenomenal nose from IFF. Again, learning. I brought in a great NPD person who helped me work out how to get the bottle and make a bottle, and we got the wrong pumps at the beginning, and they broke, and then we learned, everyone's. Yeah, I mean, looking back now, it was 5 years ago that I was doing that, just trusting people and just trying to work it out in run, I think, I think the creative part, the vision part, the branding part, that for me was quite easy. It was the
execution.
The making. Execution.
I mean, I think as entrepreneurs, often that's the least understood or appreciated bit for people who've never built something on their own, is like, you can have the idea, but how do you make it happen?
Yeah.
So tell us, what's the state of Vyrao today? I mean, from the idea, from the inception to now, what is the business today, and where do you want to take it?
So I never wanted it to be purely a fragrance brand. It's definitely more, I think we're in this genre of sort of I think we're more in the well-being space, really, although we definitely look like beautiful fragrance. We are making that. But this is really about energy, transforming your energy, energetic field, spirit, mood, emotion. So we'll do that through all sorts of ways, definitely looking at the senses, scent being the first. There'll be things that we taste coming as well. There'll be things we use on the body, touch. Everything is going to be incorporated. We're building it, I don't know, slowly, fast? I'm not totally sure. I have amazing partners, not just the investors, but even in our retail partners. There's Margaret, Space NK. I have amazing people, Mecca Australia, Liberty have been supportive, Solvages we launched with, Gwyneth Goop, she's one of my investors. Incredible. I'm surrounded by people who really believe in what I'm doing. I don't think they presume I'm going to go crazy fast, because we're not doing something that's mass and fast, really. But we are building, and we're pretty global already. And we're converting customers who try my fragrances now, and they say to me, I could never go back to my other one now that I wear yours. There's something about it that just makes me feel different. And I get people messaging me daily saying how the scents make them feel. The feeling is coming through all the time, all the time.
Why do you think intuition is so undervalued in the business world?
Well, people can't really make sense of it. I think anything you can't see, the unseen is sort of nerve-wracking to people. I mean, I've built a business on something that's quite esoteric. But I think the fact that people have come on board and believed in it is just marvelous. Intuition is like, it's everything. I mean, Taryn was talking, I mean, just so incredible. A phenomenal businessman, but you can tell he's working with more than just his brain. There's more going on there. I'm sure he would acknowledge that. I think anybody would know there's something more. I think anyone, I remember when you were speaking as well, there's more that we tap into, that we feel. I think that intuition is like, I realize that some people don't use it. That surprised me. I had a friend of mine who came to my house one time, and it really blew my mind at how ignorant I was, that not everyone understands intuition, because I just live by it. And she came over to my house and she was like, Yaz, I always thought you were really weird. You talked about intuition, I never really got it. And she goes, but you know what? Something happened to me last week that changed my life. I was sitting with my boyfriend, 5-year relationship, really happy. And he went out, left his phone behind, and I was sitting there and his phone was right in front of me. And something told me to check his phone. And she's not the phone checker girl. Like, she's not one of those girls. She's a cool girl. Like, she's secure in herself. But something that she'd never felt before, she never recognized before, told her to check. And inevitably, she checked. And she was like, I thought about you, because you always talked about this. I never heard the voice. I was like, you never heard the voice? And it made me realize that not everyone...
So for people who want to hear that voice but don't know how, like for people who haven't managed to trust that instinct, how can you tap into that?
Well, I think that intuition is a bit like, training an AI tool. Because the more you listen, the more you trust, and the better it gets. So at first you might be like, is that my brain? Is that my mind or my intuition? But eventually you start to realize the difference between what's coming from the frontal lobe and what's coming from somewhere else. It's like meditation. But people say, oh, I can't meditate. I don't know how to do that. Okay. Meditation is just a separation from the thoughts and the mind and watching them from a distance. That's all it is. It's like at the airport when the planes are going round and round. You know, what's it called? Holding pattern. When I meditate, I imagine my thoughts are up there just floating around. Hey guys, you're crazy. And underneath that is that place. And being able to learn to listen to that other part of you. I always imagine it's here and here, you know? Quite often I'll do this. I won't do it now because of the microphone. But, you know, you listen to something else. But the more you listen, the more you trust, the more you know the feeling, then you start to get the rushes. I get the energetic rush sometimes. Yeah, see, got some, you know. You get the little, it's like, and also everyone knows, you know, you meet someone, you get the feeling, it's energy. You meet someone else, energy goes down. You know what that is. Those things that we all know, we actually do all know. There's one thing people always ask me this question, how do you know? And energy, I don't really get it. If I relate it to fashion, when I was working in fashion, I remember there would always be a new collection that would come in. Like, I was at Liberty, you know, and new Saint Laurent collection would come in. And it's the same black blazer. We've seen it before. It's the same black blazer. And it would come in new season, and it would be on the shelf, and everyone would gravitate towards the new season collection. But the sales stuff would just sort of sit there a bit stagnant, and that's because the energy of that collection was stagnant. It wasn't fresh. So no, even though it was the same black blazer, people didn't go towards that. They went to the new for whatever reason. I also say, you know, when you buy a new dress, you put it on the first time, you go out, your vibration is higher. And people are always like, I love your dress. But 5 times later, they don't really comment on it because you're not, right? Everyone knows what I'm saying. This is all energy. This is all a feeling. So going back to Vyrao, we're enhancing that in the scent. You spray our scents, they will amplify your vibration, like the new dress. So I think I talk about this and we kind of all know it. We do all know it.
Yeah.
We just forget to kind of use it. I just happen to use it 24/7.
Okay, well, it's been amazing to see your reinvention in beauty, and thank you for tuning us into your
Oh, thank you.
your energy. It's beautiful.
Thank you.